everyone. It's good to be together again. Put my mask down there. Those crazy masks. So, guess what? Today, you need your white cloth, not the purple one. Can you find your white one? If you can't, that's okay. Maybe you could just use the tabletop and put the purple one to the side. So, if you have your white cloth or your tabletop, put your tea light out and your cross. And after you do that, let's just sit quietly and get focused. We'll have a quick prayer. God who sees us, open our hearts so we can see you walking beside us all the time. Amen. Oh, my hair is tickling my face. Okay. Remember last week? Remember you learned about the women finding the empty tomb? Crazy. They spread the good news that Jesus was alive, right? But no one has actually seen Jesus yet. We're at that part of the story. The women found the tomb. They went and told people, but no one's seen him. Maybe in today's story, we will see Jesus again. Let's read it. This one is called Memory and Surprise. There's two pictures that I'm going to show you. First one, this side of the book, shows three men. Do you recognize any of them? I bet you do. And then on this side, there's the three men again. And you may still recognize one. So let's see. Let's see what happens here. How do you recognize a friend? Is it by their hair color, or their clothes, maybe their voice? We have lots of different ways that we can recognize people who are important to us. In this story, Jesus' friends recognize him when he does something. That's curious. So, remember I showed you the picture of the three men? One of them has a fun name. His name is Cleopas. So Cleopas and his friend had gone to Jerusalem with Jesus. Now they were leaving. Jesus had died, and they were going home. They were walking on the road to Emmaus. Emmaus is the town where they were going. And they were talking about what had happened. A stranger caught up with them and asked, "What are you talking about?" "You're coming from Jerusalem. Don't you know what happened there?" they said. "Haven't you heard the news about the prophet killed in Jerusalem?" "What news?" the stranger asked. Cleopas answered, "Jesus was our friend. He talked about loving others. He was God's prophet. Many people followed him. We thought he would be the one to save us from Roman rulers. But some leaders in the government thought he was dangerous. And they killed him 3 days ago. Today, women went to his tomb. They said the tomb was empty. They saw angels who said that Jesus is alive. Now we don't know what to believe. We're sad and confused. I know you're sad. Listen to me. said the stranger. Do you remember what the prophets wrote about the one sent from God? Then he told them some of the old stories about the one whom God promised to send. This one would show them how to live together peacefully. They continued to walk together, and as the sun set, they arrived in Emmaus. The stranger kept on walking. "Wait! It's almost nighttime," said the two disciples. "Please stay with us." The stranger agreed. When the food was ready, the stranger took the bread. He broke the bread into pieces and gave it to them. Then Cleopas and his friend saw it was Jesus who was sitting at the table with them. Then Jesus disappeared. Cleopas said, "It was Jesus. It was Jesus who walked with us when we were sad. I felt my heart shine inside me when he told me those old stories." They were so surprised they didn't finish eating. They left Emmaus and hurried back to Jerusalem. And there the disciples were talking about Peter having seen Jesus. Cleopas and his friend told the disciples what had happened to them. "Jesus is alive. We knew it was him when he gave us the bread." That's a good story. Wow. Goodness. Have you ever had a whole lot of different emotions all at once? A good example of a lot of emotions at once might be if you've ever gone on a scary ride at an amusement park. And you might be really excited and a little scared and nervous and happy all at the same time. It might seem odd to have all those feelings at the same time, but it is possible, isn't it? Our story opened today with two men who were also having a lot of feelings all at once. They were sad because their friend and teacher had died. They were confused because they thought that Jesus had been the one to save them, and it looks like they were wrong. And they were hopeful because they heard that an angel told some women that Jesus is alive. So the men were talking over everything and trying to figure out what had happened as they were walking home to Emmaus. And then suddenly there's this stranger walking beside them and says, "Hey, what you talking about?" The men were so surprised that this man seemed to have no idea what had just happened in Jerusalem. So remember the man Cleopas? He goes over everything again. He reminds him. And all those emotions that the men are having are very clear to the stranger. But surprisingly, that stranger isn't shocked or sad about what happened to Jesus. Instead, he starts telling stories about Jesus. And that reminds the men of Jesus' purpose on earth. And that seemed to make the men feel better, didn't it? Well, and then they finally reached the house, and they get to Emmaus, and the men said, hey, come on in. Let's have dinner together. It's late. It's getting dark. And they all went inside to eat. Let me ask you this. When you have guests at your house for dinner, what happens? Do your guests just get up and help themselves to all the food? No. Someone, probably your mother or your grandmother or whoever you're with, the adult in the room, maybe your dad is the chef, brings the food to the table and offers it to the guests, right? You all sit down together? Or something like that anyway. But at this dinner, the stranger that was the guest picked up the bread. And he started to break the bread. And he offered it to the other two, just like the host would do. And it was in that moment when the stranger broke the bread, it was like, what? Their eyes were opened and they saw that the stranger was Jesus. And just as quickly as they recognized him, he disappeared. That was that. They were so shocked. They were so shocked and so amazed that they were like, oh my goodness. That whole time we've been walking and talking with Jesus. We were feeling sad, and Jesus was with them, telling them the stories about himself, and that made them feel hopeful, and that made them feel a little happier. And so after Jesus revealed himself to them, they had to rush back to Jerusalem. They wanted to tell other people that they had seen Jesus and that they recognized him